There's no need to be worried of any imminent superintelligence or Terminator situation, but we need to be aware that there is a possibility that that can be developed in the future. So we have to guard against it. I think one of the greatest opportunities is hyper-personalization. So the idea of creating an interaction with users that's highly personalized to their circumstances and relevant and creates trust. But I think there's more to it than that. I think through AI technologies, corporations can get far closer to the needs of their customers. So they can build, rather than a very transactional relationship with their customers, they can build a relationship where they really do understand what their customers want, and they're able to help predict what their customers should do in the future. So building a trusted, if you like, lifelong partnership with customers in financial services, and for customers, maybe children and grandchildren, and really nurturing that relationship to say, look, we're not just here to help you prosper financially. We're here to partner with you on some of the biggest and most impactful decisions that are going to impact you and your family in time to come. So I think the trust element is something that AI provides us with the opportunities. But I think the challenges are really high as well. At the moment, generative AI is a new technology. We've seen it launch with ChatGPT already. With any new technology, there's always the possibility of mistakes being made. We've seen some of those mistakes already with bias and toxicity leading into the results of large language models and generative AI. So corporations need to be really careful how they build their capability, how they build their technological infrastructure, and then ensure that they only release new capability in a very calibrated and risk-aware manner, so that they're not unleashing technology that hasn't been tried, tested, and proven. And in the tried, tested, and proven area, that they need to be really clear about the guardrails that they're implementing. And I think corporations need to work with their sectoral regulators to explain to them what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I believe that relationship between a corporation and its regulatory body is really, really important to ensure that that path is navigated well. I think when it comes to the executives and the decision makers of large corporations, I think there's a few things here. I believe an ethics board is absolutely mandatory for large organizations. So an ethics board should be comprised of senior executives drawn from a diverse background of an organization, whereby those participants have a real feel for their customers and what their customers want. Those members should be trained in ethics. Those members should understand the pitfalls of artificial intelligence. And I believe an ethics board is necessary to make decisions around which AI applications are exposed to customers. And those ethics boards shouldn't rely just on IT systems to answer ethical questions. I believe ethics really boils down to a discussion between different stakeholders within an organization. So an ethics board is there to debate and to discuss ethical edge cases. An ethical edge case might be the launch of an application to customers where there's maybe some disagreement over whether or not that could cause any harm or whether or not that application could be a surprise to our customers. And I believe an ethics board needs to have full transparency on how a decision is made, and those decisions should be ratified by the board of companies. I also believe that a chief responsible AI officer should be appointed to the board of every bank to oversee the end-to-end risk management of applications, both during their build and during when they're launched, to ensure that ethics is looked after through every stage of both development and post-deployment of applications. I also believe the risk management practices, the audit function should all be folded into the remit of a responsible AI officer. I believe our governments and democratically elected institutions, as well as sectoral regulators, have a huge role to play in this. We as a society elect our governments to look after us. We have a legislative process. We have even driving, even in an example like driving, we have rules to ensure that vehicles are maneuvered correctly, without which driving on roads would be a very dangerous place to be. And I believe legislation and rules around how AI technology is used and deployed is so, so important. I believe with the best will in the world, because corporations are accountable to shareholders, the bottom line is very, very important to them. And therefore, it would be unwise for us to let just corporations themselves implement the guardrails alone around AI. I think governments have to be involved to say what is and what isn't reasonable, what is and isn't allowed, and what's deemed too high a risk, and what's in the public interest. So I'm really glad that many governments around the world are enacting principles, but I believe we need to go beyond principles as well to ensure that there's really strict oversight of high-risk AI use cases that can really either hinder societal well-being or reduce human agency. So I think it's incumbent upon those institutions that we elect to look after us to have a really serious role to play in this. And I'm really glad we had the AI summit in Bletchley Park here, and Joe Biden's executive order was launched shortly afterwards. And there's a plethora of regulations that are coming out, and technology companies need to be part of that conversation. But I don't believe technology companies in of themselves should lead those conversations. Those conversations really need to be led by those institutions that we elect to look after ourselves. Artificial general intelligence, which is really all about AI approaching or retaining human level intelligence, that's been the holy grail of AI, certainly since I started working on it in the late 1990s when I was an AI researcher. We're not there yet. There are many aspects of human intelligence which the current generation of AI is simply incapable of achieving. Social interactions, emotional intelligence, even computer vision. Many of those activities, and many of which we take for granted as humans, and our ability to build relationships is another one. I believe that the current AI technologies are not there yet. In fact, the transformer technology, which underlies the most recent version of Gen AI, looks extremely sophisticated. But when you, as a technologist like myself, when you open the hood and actually have a look at how those systems operate, they do not operate in the way that humans work and in the way that humans behave as well. So I think artificial general intelligence is something we certainly have to be aware of, because when we approach that stage, if we approach it, I think we will have a real risk to human agency and to society. But at the moment, I don't believe we're anywhere near achieving that. And in fact, the transformer technology at the moment, the way it's been developed, I don't believe is the right path to achieve it in any case. So I think my message to everyone is there's no need to be worried of any imminent super intelligence or Terminator situation, but we need to be aware that there is a possibility that that can be developed in the future. So we have to guard against it. And I think secondly, there is related to this, there is obviously many other threats of using AI for weaponizing systems, for misinformation, disinformation, for nefarious states to get hold of generative AI to maybe influence electorates. I think we have to be really aware that even the current generation of AI, even though it's not artificial general intelligence, it still has a great power. And that power in the wrong hands can cause harm to society. So we do have to take the threats of AI very, very seriously right now. But artificial general intelligence, we don't have to be worried about that immediately.